Hi everybody, I'm glad you're still with us. So today I'm going to make a video about support groups, online support groups, specifically things like Facebook, and we're going to discuss like how helpful they are. Obviously this is my opinion, so I'm going to run through the positives and the negatives of having those types of support groups. So obviously it's really helpful when you're suffering and you're in a really dark place, and let's face it, all of these things make us feel, very sort of negative or deflated. They can be really useful in kind of putting it out there, and most certainly since COVID, people have been talking much more openly about their life, so that gives some sort of relief, and I think that's a really good thing. And probably, if we're honest, let's be honest, it's probably helped saved a lot of people's lives. And the other thing I think is the easy access, because obviously, most of us, I'm not saying everybody, because some people can't afford to do that. Most of us are online, and we can all just at the click of a button engage with each other. And that's brilliant. And that's happened more since COVID. So since we haven't been kind of socially interacting and stuff, we've been able to reach out to people that we wouldn't have normally done. And also you notice that a lot of these groups that cover narcissistic abuse, parental alienation, and all of those groups are far reaching. So you're getting a good variety of people from all areas, maybe even across the world, that you wouldn't have been able to do before. And that's more shared experiences, so you get to also maybe sign petitions. You get to see sometimes people pass papers through these sites that you can read, and get to look at different documents, different bits of legislation that may have been passed in law. So that's always really good. You've got some really nice access to a lot of stuff, and I think that's a positive thing. And at the end of the day, there is always someone to vent to when you're feeling really negative and you just need to get it out. It could be the middle of the night and you can guarantee that somebody in another country somewhere is awake, and that's brilliant, and you've got some sort of like frame of reference all the time for what you're going through. So it's all really positive stuff. I think really positive. So what are the negatives? Are there any negatives from these groups? In my opinion, I think there are a lot of negatives for these groups, and I think that they serve their purpose at a specific time for specific people, but they don't always work when you're at a certain stage. So I suppose some of the simplest negatives there are that obviously if you are in a group with somebody in America or wherever, the processes are going to be very different, within maybe family law. The rights are different in different areas, so that may not like sit with your country, and also even between different local authorities within the UK, for example, things are done differently, and thresholds are different, and there's no denying that. You cannot escape that. That's just a fact. Why it happens, I don't know. The really negative thing that I find really hard, I personally find it really hard, is the like comparisons. So you get a lot of comparisons. You're constantly, I mean, social media is a thing where you're comparing yourself to other people, or most people do that, but within these groups you get comparisons about like who's won and who's lost. Say for example, somebody's been able to see their children by going down this avenue, yet someone else hasn't, or vice versa, and that really influences how you feel at that given time. So it can be very difficult, and if you're actually going through something and you see that the exact same steps that you took someone else has failed with, that can be, put you in quite a negative frame of mind, or you can become quite despondent, or equally, if you're a sort of a jealous type person, which I personally am not, but if you might feel really upset and done in that somebody else can see their children and you can't. And I guess that's kind of natural, whether you're jealous or not. So it definitely influences and impacts how you feel and can be quite negative. So obviously we've spoken in the last section about the positives, about the influence of COVID, and you know, how we all group together online and stuff like that. So that's really positive. But obviously when you're in these groups, yes, they do replace groups that are physical, and people can't always get to those, but you're actually missing a great deal of like human interaction. So you're missing all the social cues, you're missing facial gestures, language, like the genuine feel of the person and what that interaction is about. So that's worth bearing in mind. It's not quite the same. Oh gosh, and then there is the gender bashing, gender comments, and you know, this situation, you know, whether you're talking about any kind of abuse, domestic abuse, or if you're talking about parental alienation, we know that it goes across genders. We know it isn't gender specific. It may be reported by more by one gender than another, but we know that's not the case. But yet still someone will pop up and they'll be, you know, kind of really sort of iffy or poisonous towards another person. So you get a lot of that, and you get a lot of that in between people in general. Somebody will say something, it may trigger somebody else, and somebody will, you know, have this like dialogue of opinion, and then that'll upset somebody. So or someone will take that personally, and you know, even with the moderators, sometimes people can say things which really affect and impact others and actually make the situation worse. So yes, there is that part of it, but that's human beings, I guess. With all those kind of negative feelings, sometimes it can turn into a bit of a moan fest, and it's like moan, and I appreciate, because I've been there. I know it. This stuff is hard, but when people are going through things that are hard, they should be raising each other up, not dragging each other down. And very often I see that. And for some, I'm not going to name any specific groups, but that's why I withdrew myself, because I was getting incredibly deflated. So, like I said, I think they have their purpose for specific times, for specific situations and people. And some people find them absolutely excellent. So I'm not kind of being disrespectful. I'm just like looking at the negatives and the positives. But you know, if you're up on that all night, you can't get any sleep, which is what you really need. So I suggest that you give the groups a wide berth, or maybe set like a time limit for interacting with them. I guess I do sound like a bit of a nag, but you really do need your sleep. So stop interacting online so much, because all the time you're doing that, you can't take action and do the things that you need to do for you. You're not able to do that actually just for you without involving other people or relying on other people. The more time you spend going over the stuff, the less time you have to actually do any changes. So please comment in the comment section below. Please just comment, drop a comment about whether you think they're positive, negative, how have they been for you. Have you found anything positive about it? Have you found anything really negative about it? Are you still using them? Please just drop a comment for me, so we can kind of get a discussion going. And obviously like and subscribe if you're interested. And if you want to know what I've done to move forward, just have a read below this video. Take care, and either use your groups or don't, and I'll see you soon.